The encounter. The vastness of space was silent, but the tension in the Galactic Empire fleet was deafening. Thousands of ships, gleaming with metallic brilliance, floated in formation near the edge of Andromeda. At the center of the fleet, the flagship Eternal Dominion stood like a fortress, its hull bristling with weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. Grand Admiral Vel Rath stood tall on the bridge, his silver-scaled face betraying no emotion. His cold yellow eyes scanned the holographic display before him. A convoy of small human ships, barely noticeable in size compared to the Empire's massive vessels, floated just beyond firing range. Vel Rath sneered. Are these the so-called humans? They don't even look like a threat. Beside him, Commander Thrask, his second-in-command, hesitated. Admiral, I suggest caution. Humans have a reputation. Strange reports have come in from other sectors. Vel Rath waved his claw dismissively. Nonsense. These primitives are no match for us. Open a channel to their leader. The communications officer pressed a series of glowing buttons, and within moments, the image of a human woman appeared on the main screen. She wore a crisp navy uniform, her dark hair tied back neatly. Her name tag read Captain Alina Vale, but what struck Vel Rath wasn't her appearance. It was her expression. She was smiling. Unidentified human fleet. Vel Rath began, his voice sharp and commanding. You are trespassing in territory controlled by the Galactic Empire. Surrender your vessels and your planet's resources immediately or face destruction. There was silence on the human side for a moment. Then, to Vel Rath's utter disbelief, laughter erupted from the human ship's bridge. It wasn't nervous laughter. It was genuine, hearty amusement. Captain Vale leaned forward slightly, still grinning. Oh, that's adorable. Did you practice that speech in front of a mirror? Vel Rath's claws tightened around the edge of his command console. You dare mock the Galactic Empire? Oh, we're not mocking you, Vale replied, her tone dripping with sarcasm. We're just entertained. You came all this way, with all those shiny ships, just to threaten us. I almost feel bad for you. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell silent. Vel Rath could feel his officer's unease. These humans weren't behaving like any species the Empire had encountered before. Most civilizations quaked in fear at the sight of an Empire fleet. But these humans, they were laughing. Enough, Vel Rath growled. Scan their ships. I want to know what kind of weapons these fools think will save them. The science officer quickly complied. Streams of data flooded the display, showing the specifications of the human ships. Vel Rath frowned. The vessels were small and outdated, with hulls that looked centuries old. Their weapon systems appeared basic, almost laughable. Yet there was something unusual, a strange energy signature radiating from each ship. It was unlike anything in the Empire's database. Admiral, the science officer said, his voice shaking slightly. Their energy output, it's off the charts. These ships shouldn't even be able to move with this kind of power. Vel Rath dismissed the report. It's probably a malfunction in our scanners. Humans are a backward species. Their technology can't possibly rival ours. But Commander Thrask wasn't convinced. He stepped closer to Vel Rath and lowered his voice. Admiral, I urge caution. These energy readings are abnormal. If we engage them without understanding their capabilities. Silence. Vel Rath snapped. Prepare the fleet to fire on my command. Meanwhile, on the human flagship Resolute, Captain Vale leaned back in her chair, watching the chaos unfold on the Empire's side. They're scanning us, she said with a smirk. Poor things. They have no idea what they're dealing with. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Harris, chuckled. Do you think they'll figure it out before it's too late? Not a chance, Vale replied. They're too arrogant to see what's right in front of them. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Vel Rath was growing impatient. Open the channel again, he barked. When Captain Vale's image reappeared, he didn't bother with formalities. This is your final warning. Surrender now, or we will obliterate you. Vale's smile widened. Admiral, you seem stressed. Maybe you should take a moment to relax. I hear yoga helps with that. Velrath's scales flushed a darker shade of silver, a sign of his growing fury. You think this is a joke? Oh no, Vale said, her voice turning serious. It's not a joke. But here's the thing. You picked the wrong species to intimidate. Suddenly, the lights on the human ships began to flicker, and their strange energy signatures grew stronger. Velrath's science officer shouted, Admiral, the energy readings are spiking. I've never seen anything like this. What are they doing? Velrath demanded. Captain Vale's voice interrupted his thoughts. You wanted to see what humans are capable of. Let me give you a demonstration. The display cut out, and alarms blared across the Eternal Dominion. The human ships were powering up their systems, but instead of weapons, a burst of music erupted across the Empire's communications network. It was loud, chaotic, and strangely captivating. Velrath stared at the screen, his claws twitching in frustration. What is this madness? The answer came in the form of a simple message from the humans. Welcome to humanity. Let the fun begin. Cliffhanger. Velrath's fleet detects a massive surge of energy from the human ships. But instead of attacking, the humans hold their positions, their ships glowing with unexplainable power. Velrath realizes too late. This was no ordinary confrontation. It was the start of something far bigger. The Empire's miscalculation. The Galactic Empire was used to domination. For centuries, their fleets had crushed any who resisted, their rule expanding across countless systems. But as Grand Admiral Velrath stared at the chaos unfolding on his bridge, he couldn't shake an unfamiliar sensation. Unease. The human ships, though small and outdated, pulsed with energy that no Empire technology could identify. Their audacity, their laughter, their refusal to take him seriously. It was maddening. Admiral, Commander Thrask said carefully, perhaps we should pull back and analyze the situation further. These energy readings. Velrath cut him off with a glare. I will not retreat from primitives. Deploy the scout ships. I want a closer look at their fleet. Within moments, a dozen sleek Empire scout ships broke formation and zipped toward the humans. Their purpose was reconnaissance, equipped with advanced sensors and stealth capabilities. But the moment they entered range, the human ships reacted. Admiral, they're moving. The tactical officer shouted. Velrath's eyes widened as the human convoy broke into a seemingly disorganized dance. The ships weaved and spiraled, their movements erratic and unpredictable. It wasn't military precision. It was chaos. The scout ships adjusted course to intercept, but the human vessels moved faster than they should have been capable of. Thrask leaned over to Velrath. Admiral, it's as if their pilots are improvising in real time. No algorithms, no patterns, just raw instinct. Velrath sneered. Instinct is no match for discipline. Order the scouts to engage. The scouts opened fire, unleashing precise laser beams that streaked through the darkness of space, but every shot missed. The human ships dodged with impossible precision, their movements almost playful. They're toying with us, Thrask muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. Then, without warning, one of the human ships retaliated. It fired a single pulse of blue energy, not at the scouts, but into the empty void ahead of them. The energy exploded into a brilliant cascade of light, blinding the scouts' sensors and scrambling their systems. Admiral, the science officer exclaimed, the scouts are completely disabled. Their targeting systems are offline. Velrath slammed his clawed fist onto the console. What kind of weapon is that? I demand answers. The science officer stammered. It's not a weapon, sir. It's a disruption field. It's interfering with our technology, but it's not destructive. It's like they're holding back. The bridge fell silent as the weight of that statement sank in. The humans weren't attacking to kill. They were sending a message. We're capable of more. Meanwhile, aboard the Resolute, Captain Elena Vale watched the disabled scout ships drift helplessly. She leaned back in her chair, her expression calm. Phase 1 is complete. They underestimated us. Lieutenant Harris grinned. You think they'll keep coming? Vale smirked. Oh, they'll come. Their arrogance won't let them back down. But now, they're scared. And scared enemies make mistakes. The bridge crew chuckled. Humans weren't strangers to being underestimated. For centuries, they'd been seen as the underdogs of the galaxy, a young species with little influence. What no one seemed to understand was that humans thrived on being underestimated. Send them another message, Vale ordered. Let's see how much their pride can handle. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Velrath's comms officer stiffened. Admiral, the humans are broadcasting again. The main display flickered to life, showing Captain Vale's face. She was holding a cup of something steaming and looked entirely too relaxed. Hi again, she said cheerfully. Enjoying the show? Velrath's jaw clenched. You won't find me so amusing when your fleet is in pieces. Vale raised an eyebrow. Fleet? Oh, you mean these little guys? She gestured to the ships behind her. This isn't a fleet. This is a warm-up act. You really thought we'd send our best to deal with you. Velrath's claws dug into his console. You're bluffing. Vale took a sip from her cup, then leaned closer to the camera. Am I? The screen went black, replaced by a sudden burst of data flooding the Empire's systems. The humans had hacked into their network, filling every display with an image of Earth, a blue and green marble floating in the vastness of space. Beneath it, a single message flashed. Come closer and you'll find out. The turning point. Velrath turned to his officers, his voice trembling with rage. Trace that signal. I want to know everything about their technology, their tactics, everything. The science officer worked furiously, his claws flying over the controls. After a moment, he froze. Admiral, the signal isn't coming from their ships. It's coming from further away. Velrath frowned. What do you mean? The officer hesitated. There's a larger fleet, hidden just beyond our sensor range. Hundreds, maybe thousands of ships. Their energy signatures are identical to these, but stronger. For the first time in his long career, Velrath felt a chill run down his spine. He turned to Thrask, who looked equally shaken. Admiral, Thrask said quietly, we might be dealing with a much larger threat than we anticipated. Velrath's mind raced. The humans' confidence, their laughter, their refusal to take him seriously. It all made sense now. This wasn't just a skirmish. This was a test. Prepare the fleet, Velrath barked. We'll crush them before their reinforcements arrive. But even as he spoke, a sinking feeling gnawed at him. The humans had lured them here, played with them, and now they were leading the Empire into unknown territory. As the Eternal Dominion powered up its weapons, the human ships remained still, their energy signatures glowing brighter. Velrath's comms officer turned pale. Admiral, they're laughing again. Cliffhanger. As Velrath orders the fleet forward, the hidden human reinforcements begin to emerge from the darkness. One by one, massive ships appear, their designs unlike anything the Empire has ever seen. The last thing Velrath hears is Captain Vale's voice. You wanted a fight. You've got one. The first shot. The Galactic Empire's fleet loomed over the human ships like a tidal wave ready to crash. Velrath stood tall on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his cold, calculating mind churning with strategies. Despite his frustration, he couldn't ignore the strange energy readings or the humans' unnerving calmness. Admiral, Commander Thrask began cautiously, I urge you to reconsider engaging. These humans, they're different. Their tactics, their technology. Velrath cut him off with a raised claw. Enough. We will not be humiliated by an inferior species. Prepare the fleet to fire. The Empire's ships aligned, their weapons glowing with a menacing red hue. Velrath's voice echoed across the command deck. All ships, target their lead vessel. On my mark. On the Resolute. Captain Elena Vale watched the Empire's movements on the holographic display. She leaned forward in her chair, her fingers drumming lightly on the console. Around her, the bridge crew worked silently, their faces calm but focused. They're charging weapons, Lieutenant Harris said. Looks like they're aiming for us. Vale smirked. Of course they are. They always go for the biggest target. Makes them feel brave. Harris chuckled nervously. I assume we're not firing back. Not yet, Vale replied, her eyes narrowing. Let them make the first move. We're playing chess, not checkers. The bridge fell silent as the Empire's ships reached full charge. The holographic display lit up with 100 glowing dots, each one a missile or energy beam primed to obliterate them. Brace yourselves, Vale said, her voice calm. This is where it gets interesting. The Empire strikes. Fire, Velrath commanded. The fleet erupted in a coordinated barrage. Blazing missiles streaked across the void, followed by streams of concentrated plasma beams. The entire sector of space lit up as if a second sun had ignited. Velrath allowed himself a rare smile. No ship, no matter how advanced, could survive such an onslaught. But the smile faded as the first wave of attacks approached the human ships. Admiral, shouted the tactical officer. They're moving. The human convoy sprang into action with impossible precision. Ships twisted and turned at seemingly random angles, dodging missiles with uncanny ease. Plasma beams grazed past, but not a single one hit its mark. It's like they're dancing, Thrask muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. The human counter. Captain Vale watched the chaos unfold with a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. All right, they've had their fun. Harris, activate the drones. Harris grinned and pressed a button. From the human ships, hundreds of small drones launched into space. They scattered like a swarm of bees, weaving between the Empire's missiles and latching onto their hulls. Drone attachment successful, Harris reported. Shall we give them a taste? Vale nodded. Do it. The drones pulsed with bright blue energy, sending electromagnetic waves through the Empire's fleet. One by one, the missiles and plasma beams powered down, their systems completely disabled. The Empire's ships sputtered, their targeting systems failing as the drones overloaded their circuits. Admiral, Velrath's science officer shouted, our weapons are offline. The drones are disrupting our systems. Velrath slammed his claw into the console. What kind of sorcery is this? A human warning. As the Empire's fleet struggled to regain control, the Resolute broadcasted a message across all channels. Captain Vale appeared on every Empire ship's main display, her smile as confident as ever. Nice try, she said casually. But here's a little advice. Maybe next time, don't underestimate the species that figured out fire, electricity, and quantum mechanics while you were still deciding which shiny rock to worship. Velrath's scales flushed with anger. Enough of this insolence, he roared at the screen. You think you can defeat the Galactic Empire with your tricks and gadgets. Vale's expression darkened. Defeat you? Oh no, Admiral. We're not here to defeat you. We're here to show you why no one in this galaxy should ever mess with humanity. With that, the transmission ended, and the Resolute powered up its main weapon systems. A deep hum filled the void, and the ship's hull glowed with an eerie blue light. The first shot. Admiral, they're firing, shouted Thrask. A single pulse of blue energy shot from the Resolute. It wasn't aimed at a ship but at the space directly between the two fleets. When the pulse hit, it expanded into a massive wave of energy that rippled across the battlefield. Velrath braced himself, expecting destruction, but none came. Instead, his ship's systems flickered and dimmed. The holographic displays turned to static, and the lights on the bridge dimmed. What is this? Wrath demanded. The science officer frantically checked the controls. Admiral, it's a containment field. Our systems are operational, but we're locked in place. We can't move. Revealing the edge. On the Resolute, Vale watched as the Empire's fleet became immobilized. Harris, let's make this crystal clear for them. Harris nodded and activated the ship's external speakers. A new broadcast played across the Empire's comms, a recording of human laughter. It was loud, mocking, and impossible to ignore. Velrath seethed as the sound echoed through his ship. What are they doing? Why won't they just fight us? They don't need to, Thrask said quietly. They've already won this round. Cliffhanger. As Velrath grappled with his fleet's immobilization, a new energy reading appeared on the sensors. It was massive, far larger than anything the Empire had encountered before. A shadow fell over the fleet as a colossal human dreadnought emerged from the void, its size dwarfing even the Eternal Dominion. Captain Vale's voice echoed one last time over the comms. Still think we're just primitives. This is your only chance to leave. Next time, we won't be so polite. Velrath stared at the massive ship, his claws trembling. For the first time, he realized the truth. Humanity wasn't just a threat. They were a force the Empire was completely unprepared to face. The human edge. The Galactic Empire's once mighty fleet hung in space, motionless and surrounded by a faint blue containment field. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral Velrath paced like a caged predator. Every attempt to regain control had failed, and the humans showed no sign of pressing their advantage. That was what unnerved him the most. Admiral, Commander Thrask said cautiously, the dreadnought has moved into range. It's enormous, and its energy readings are beyond anything we've ever seen. Velrath stopped and turned sharply. Size means nothing if we can outmaneuver it. We need tow. Admiral, the tactical officer interrupted, panic in his voice. New contacts detected. They're everywhere. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing hundreds of new blips surrounding the Empire's fleet. Smaller human ships emerged from stealth fields, their energy signatures flaring to life as they spread out into an encircling formation. Velrath clenched his claws. This is impossible. How did they hide an entire fleet? Thrask's face darkened. Admiral, I think they wanted us to find the first convoy. They lured us here. The humans take control. On the Resolute, Captain Alina Vale leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed as she surveyed the holographic battlefield. The Empire's ships were boxed in, their movements restricted by the containment field, and now surrounded by the real human fleet. Nice and neat, she said with a satisfied nod. Harris, open a line to their admiral. Moments later, Velrath's scowling face appeared on the main display. Before he could speak, Vale raised a finger. Save it. I know what you're going to say. This is an outrage. You'll pay for this. The Empire will crush you. Blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all before. Velrath's voice was a low growl. You think this will end in victory for you, human. You've only delayed the inevitable. Vale smiled thinly. Inevitable. You really don't get it, do you? This isn't a battle. It's a demonstration. A demonstration of what? Velrath spat. Vale's smile widened. Of why we've survived everything the galaxy has thrown at us. You see, Admiral, humans don't fight fair. We fight smart. And you're about to learn just how smart we can be. The Trap Titans. As the Empire's fleet scrambled to analyze the new human ships, another twist sent shockwaves through their ranks. The asteroid field they had unknowingly entered came alive. Holographic projectors, hidden on the asteroid's surfaces, flickered on, creating dozens of false sensor readings. The Empire's scanners became flooded with phantom ships, overwhelming their targeting systems. Admiral, The science officer shouted. "Our sensors are compromised. We can't distinguish real ships from decoys." Velrath slammed his claws on the console. "How is this possible? Asteroids don't have this kind of technology." Thrask's voice was grim. "They do when humans get there first." The asteroid field wasn't just a natural hazard. It was a battlefield prepared long before the Empire arrived. Mines, decoys, and stealth turrets began activating, adding to the chaos. The Empire's fleet found itself surrounded by enemies, unable to tell what was real and what wasn't. Humans show their philosophy. On the Resolute, Vale watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. "They're starting to panic. Good. Let's keep it that way." Harris hesitated. "Should we push them harder? Or end it?" Vale shook her head. "Not yet. We're not just teaching them a lesson, Harris. We're teaching the galaxy. This isn't about destroying their fleet. It's about breaking their pride." Harris nodded. "Understood, Captain." Vale tapped a button on her console, activating another broadcast to the Empire fleet. Her voice echoed across their systems. "Admiral Velrath, let me explain something to you. Humans didn't survive on Earth by being the strongest. We survived by being the most adaptable. When the environment pushed us, we pushed back harder. And when enemies like you underestimated us, we turned the tables. We don't need the biggest guns to win. We just need to outthink you." Her words were followed by a sharp pause before she added, "Oh, and by the way, those phantom ships on your sensors, some of them are real. Care to guess which ones?" The Empire cracks. Velrath's composure began to slip. His claws dug into the armrests of his chair as his officers scrambled to make sense of the battlefield. For every plan they attempted, the humans had already anticipated it. The Empire's fleet was being played like a game of chess, and they were losing. "Admiral," Thrask said quietly, "we need to retreat. This isn't a battle we can win." Velrath glared at him. "Retreat? Against them? I'd rather die." Thrask's expression hardened. "If we don't retreat, we might." Before Velrath could respond, the bridge shuddered. One of the smaller Empire ships had attempted to fire blindly at a holographic decoy and triggered a mine. The explosion rippled outward, damaging nearby ships and spreading more panic through the fleet. The final message. Captain Vale watched the destruction unfold but didn't smile this time. Her voice was calm, almost somber, as she gave the next order. "Enough. Send them the final message." Harris nodded and activated the external speakers. Across the battlefield, every Empire ship received the same transmission. It wasn't laughter this time. It was a warning. "You've seen what we can do," Vale's voice said. "This was just a demonstration. We've outmaneuvered you, outsmarted you, and disabled your fleet without firing a single deadly shot. If we wanted to destroy you, we would have. But we're giving you a choice. Leave now and never come back, or stay and face the consequences." Cliffhanger. As the Empire's fleet hesitated, a massive surge of energy erupted from the human dreadnought. It wasn't an attack. It was a display of power. The ship's glowing hull expanded into a shimmering shield that enveloped the entire human fleet. Velrath stared at the display in stunned silence. What is that?" Thrask's voice was low and filled with dread. "A message, Admiral. They're showing us that they could destroy us any time they wanted." The dreadnought's shield flared brightly, and for the first time in his life, Velrath considered retreating. But as he gave the order to pull back, a new signal appeared on the sensors, something massive, moving toward them from the outer reaches of the system. Velrath whispered to himself, "What now?" The humans had outplayed them, but now it seemed like something even they hadn't anticipated was approaching. The game wasn't over yet. The trap. The Galactic Empire's fleet, battered and disoriented, began to regroup. Velrath had reluctantly ordered a slow retreat, his pride bleeding with every kilometer the fleet pulled back. His officers worked feverishly to restore systems scrambled by the human technology, but the damage to morale was worse. "Admiral," Commander Thrask said, his voice low but firm, "this retreat is our best option. We've underestimated them, and now we're caught in their web. If we press forward, we'll—" Velarath cut him off, slamming a clawed fist onto his console. "Enough. I won't have my legacy tarnished by running from these upstarts. We are the Galactic Empire. Send a message to the fleet. Full power to engines. We'll punch through their lines and make them regret this arrogance." But even as he spoke, he noticed the flicker of uncertainty in Thrask's eyes. The humans hadn't just defeated them tactically. They had shaken the unshakable confidence of the Empire itself. The humans tightened their grip. On the Resolute, Captain Alina Vale stood with her arms crossed, watching as the Empire fleet attempted to reform its ranks. She tapped a finger thoughtfully on her console. "They're pulling back, but not fast enough," she said. "Velarath's pride won't let him retreat completely. He'll try something bold soon." Lieutenant Harris glanced at the display. "And if he does?" Vale smiled. "Then we spring the next part of the trap. They think they're retreating on their terms, but we've already decided how this ends." She turned to her communications officer. "Broadcast to the fleet. Phase 3 is a go. Let's make them feel the walls closing in." The asteroid field awakens. As the Empire's fleet maneuvered through the asteroid field, the true extent of the human preparation became clear. Hidden mines, stealth drones, and holographic decoys activated in perfect coordination. Ships veered off course, crashing into invisible barriers or triggering controlled detonations that sent asteroids tumbling into their path. "Admiral," the science officer shouted, "the asteroid field is alive. We're detecting movement. Whole sections are shifting to block our escape routes." Velarath stared at the display in disbelief. The asteroid field, once a chaotic maze, now appeared to move with purpose. The humans had turned it into a living weapon. "They're hurting us," Thrask said grimly. "The psychological strike." Back on the Resolute, Vale leaned forward, her voice calm but commanding. "Time for the psychological strike. Harris, patch me into their fleet-wide comms." The communications officer nodded, and Vale's image appeared on every Empire ship's display. She spoke with a casual tone, her words measured. "Admiral Velarath, I admire your determination. It's almost inspiring. But let me explain something to you." Her voice shifted, becoming cold and sharp. "You're not in control. Every move you've made since you entered this system was one we anticipated. You're playing checkers on a chessboard you don't even understand." The screen flickered, and a holographic map of the battlefield replaced her image. The Empire's ships were marked in red, and as Vale spoke, the red dots became surrounded by blue markers representing the human fleet and their traps. "This is what we do, Admiral," Vale continued. "We plan, we adapt, and when the time is right, we strike. You've been lured, cornered, and now, checkmate. The escape route closes." Velarath's claws dug into the console as he watched the holographic map. "This is a trick, a bluff," he growled. But even as he spoke, the Eternal Dominion sensors lit up with new alerts. A massive energy surge rippled through the asteroid field, and suddenly, the remaining escape routes collapsed. The humans had used the containment field to manipulate the field's gravity, sealing off any chance of retreat. "Admiral," Thrask said urgently, "we're completely surrounded. We have no way out." Velarath's chest heaved as he fought to control his fury. "Then we fight. All ships, focus fire on their dreadnought. We'll destroy their flagship and—" Before he could finish, a massive shadow passed over the Eternal Dominion. The human dreadnought, which had been holding its position, now moved into the fray. It dwarfed the Empire's largest ships, its hull brimming with weapons that glowed ominously. A lesson in humanity. "Admiral," Vale's voice echoed again across the Empire's comms. We could have destroyed you by now. Do you know why we haven't? Vel Wrath snarled. Because you lack the strength to finish this. Vale's laughter rang through the speakers, light and mocking. Strength. Oh, Admiral, strength isn't just about the size of your guns. It's about knowing when to use them, and when not to. You invaded our space, threatened our people, and yet, here you are, still alive. Ask yourself why. The answer came from Thrask, his voice heavy with realization. They're sending a message to the rest of the galaxy. They're showing restraint. Vale's voice hardened. Exactly. Because while you think this is just a battle, it's not. This is an example. We don't conquer. We don't enslave. We survive. And we thrive. But when we're pushed, the Dreadnought fired a single shot, not at the Empire's ships, but into the asteroid field behind them. The blast triggered a chain reaction, obliterating the field and sending a wave of energy across the Empire's fleet. It didn't destroy their ships, but it left them crippled, drifting helplessly. We push back. Cliffhanger. The new arrival. As the Empire's fleet lay broken, the human ships pulled back, their weapons powered down. Vale's final message echoed across the comms. Tell your Emperor what happened here. Tell them humanity isn't a prey species anymore. And if they ever come back, they'll find out just how dangerous we can be. But before the humans could celebrate, the sensors lit up with a new signal. A massive vessel, larger than the human dreadnought, entered the system. Its design was unlike anything either side had seen. A sleek, black ship that seemed to absorb light itself. On the Resolute, Vale's confident demeanor faltered. What the hell is that? The Resolute's AI chimed in. Unknown vessel detected. No identifiable markings or energy signatures. Threat level. Extreme. As both the humans and the Empire's fleet watched in stunned silence, the mysterious ship broadcast a single message across all channels. Step aside. This galaxy has new rules. The truth about humanity. The mysterious vessel loomed over the battlefield, casting a shadow that seemed to swallow light itself. Its surface shimmered with a strange fluid-like motion, as though it were alive. Both the Galactic Empire and the human fleets froze, their scanners working furiously to make sense of the anomaly. On the Resolute, Captain Alina Vale stared at the holographic display, her confidence replaced by cold calculation. Lieutenant Harris, what do we have on this thing? Harris frowned as streams of data scrolled past his console. Nothing, Captain. No matches in any database. No identifiable energy source. It's alien. Vale smirked faintly. Alien. Coming from us. That's rich. But her humor faded as the ship's transmission echoed again. Step aside. This galaxy has new rules. The unknown threat. On the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral Vel Wrath's rage had turned to confusion. His claws hovered over the console as he listened to the message. New rules. What nonsense is this? Thrask, standing beside him, was pale. Admiral, this isn't one of ours, or theirs. He gestured to the human's position. I recommend we hold fire and assess. Vel Wrath growled. Assess. We're the Galactic Empire. We don't assess. We conquer. Before he could order an attack, the black vessel released a pulse of energy. It rippled across the battlefield, disabling sensors, weapons, and communications on both human and Empire ships. Suddenly, every vessel was blind, deaf, and helpless. Human ingenuity. On the Resolute, chaos erupted. Crew members scrambled to restore systems, but Vale remained calm. She tapped her earpiece, activating an old analog comm system unaffected by the pulse. Team Alpha, this is Vale. Bring the backup systems online. Manual override only. I want full power in 60 seconds. Harris raised an eyebrow. Manual override? Are we really going old school? Vale grinned. We're humans. Old school is what we do best. Within moments, the Resolute flickered back to life, running on analog redundancies the crew had installed for emergencies. It was a human specialty, planning for the unexpected. Vale turned to Harris. Now let's figure out what this thing wants. Open a direct channel. The first contact. The black vessel responded immediately, its message delivered not in words but in images. A series of holographic projections filled the Resolute's bridge. A dying star collapsing into a black hole. Planets shattered into fragments. Alien civilizations wiped out by a force that consumed everything in its path. Harris shuddered. Captain, are they warning us? Vale's face was grim. No, they're introducing themselves. The final image was the most chilling. A massive armada of ships identical to the black vessel, stretching endlessly across the stars. And then, one final message. This galaxy is ours. The Empire reacts. On the Eternal Dominion, Velrath struggled to maintain control. The energy pulse had crippled their systems, and the images from the black vessel played across every screen. This is impossible, Velrath muttered. No species has ever fielded ships of this scale. Not even us. Thrask spoke quietly, his voice steady despite the chaos. Admiral, this isn't about scale. It's about intent. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to dominate. Velrath clenched his claws. Then we'll fight them. If the humans won't stand against them, the Empire will. Thrask hesitated. Sir, what if the humans can stand against them? A fragile alliance. As the mysterious ship began powering up its weapons, Captain Vale made a decision. She opened a direct line to the Eternal Dominion. Velrath's furious face appeared on her screen. You dare contact me now, human? He snarled. Vale didn't flinch. Admiral, if you want to survive this, you're going to have to listen to me. Your fleet is dead weight without us. We've already restored our systems. Work with us, or this thing wipes us both out. Velrath sneered. You expect the Empire to ally with primitives? No, Vale replied coldly. I expect you to ally with survivors. We've faced extinction before, Admiral. Have you? The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Thrask spoke. Admiral, we have no other choice. Velrath growled, but gave a reluctant nod. Fine. What's your plan, human? The plan. Vale turned to her crew. Harris, I want every stealth drone we've got deployed around that thing. Use them to map its energy flows. Find a weak point. She addressed Velrath through the comms. Admiral, we're going to keep it distracted. Once we find an opening, your fleet hits it with everything you've got. Velrath scoffed. You think your small fleet can distract something like that? Vale grinned. Watch us. The attack begins. The Resolute led the charge, its smaller ships darting around the massive vessel like gnats. The black ship responded with precision, firing beams of energy that disintegrated anything they touched. But the humans were fast and unpredictable, their ships weaving erratically to avoid the strikes. Meanwhile, the stealth drones transmitted critical data back to the Resolute. Harris studied the readings intently. Captain, we got something. Its core is heavily shielded, but there's a weak point near its aft, an exposed energy conduit. Vale relayed the information to Velrath. Admiral, there's your target. Can you hit it? Velrath's eyes narrowed. We can hit anything. The counterstrike. The Empire's fleet, still weakened but operational, fired a coordinated barrage at the exposed conduit. The black ship's shields flared as it tried to compensate, but the concentrated fire was too much. The conduit exploded, sending a shockwave rippling through the vessel. For the first time, the massive ship faltered, its movements sluggish and uncoordinated. Cheers erupted on the Resolute, but Vale wasn't smiling. Don't celebrate yet. That wasn't enough to take it down. She turned to Harris. What's its status? Harris's face was pale. Captain, it's adapting. The energy readings are stabilizing. It's repairing itself. Cliffhanger. Before anyone could react, The black vessel emitted another pulse, more powerful than the first. It wasn't just disabling systems this time. It was rewriting them. The Resolute's lights flickered as its AI systems began shutting down. And then, a new signal appeared on the sensors. More ships, identical to the first, emerged from hyperspace. Vale stared at the display, her voice barely a whisper. It's not just one. It's a whole fleet. Velrath's voice crackled over the comms, filled with dread. What have we unleashed? As the first black ship stabilized and prepared to fire, humanity and the Empire faced the same terrifying reality. The real fight was just beginning. The final stand. The black ships multiplied, emerging from hyperspace like an endless tide. Each vessel radiated the same eerie, fluid-like energy, their sheer presence oppressive. Across both the human and Empire fleets, fear gripped the crews. They were no longer facing a single enemy, but an armada capable of wiping out entire civilizations. On the Resolute, Captain Alina Vale took a deep breath, forcing calm into her voice. Harris, status on our fleet. Harris scanned his console. We've got 70% operational capacity. Some of our systems are still glitching from their last pulse, but we're holding. Vale nodded. And the Empire? Bad shape, Harris replied grimly. Their ships are barely holding formation, and their shields are running at minimal power. Vale smirked faintly. Then it's a good thing we humans are used to fighting outnumbered. She turned to her comms officer. Open a channel to the Eternal Dominion. An uneasy alliance. Admiral Velrath's face appeared on the screen, his expression torn between anger and fear. What is it now, human? Here to lecture me on the power of teamwork. Vale leaned forward, her tone sharp. Admiral, if we're going to survive this, you're going to have to stop pretending your pride matters. These things don't care about your empire or my species. They're here to consume everything. Velrath growled but said nothing. Commander Thrask, standing behind him, spoke instead. What's your plan, Captain Vel? Vale's eyes glinted. We've studied their movements. They're adapting to our tactics, but they're not perfect. Every time we hit them, they take a few seconds to recalibrate. If we hit them fast and hard, we can overload their systems before they adapt. Velrath scoffed. And who do you propose will make this fast and hard attack? Vale's voice was steel. We will. Humans will lead the charge. You, Admiral, will focus all your remaining firepower on covering us. Think of it as insurance for your survival. Velrath's pride flared. You presume to command the Empire. No, Vale said bluntly. I presume to win. The final strategy. The two fleets prepared for the attack. The humans would engage the enemy ships directly, relying on their unpredictable maneuvers to buy time. Meanwhile, the Empire's fleet would target weak points revealed by the stealth drones, coordinating strikes with precision. Vale stood in the center of the Resolute's bridge, her voice firm and unwavering. Listen up, people. This isn't about pride. This isn't about proving who's the strongest. This is about survival. Ours, theirs, everyone's. We've faced extinction before, and every time, we've come out stronger. Today is no different. Her crew responded with a resolute cheer. The Resolute's engines roared to life, leading the human fleet straight into the heart of the enemy formation. The battle unfolds. The black ships responded immediately, firing beams of energy that tore through the void. Human ships darted between them, their chaotic movements forcing the enemy to recalibrate with every missed shot. Drones in position, Harris reported. Vale nodded. Good. Let's give them something to think about. All ships, focus fire on their lead vessel. The human fleet opened fire, targeting the same energy conduit that had been exposed earlier. This time, their weapons were synchronized, delivering a devastating blow that sent the lead ship spiraling. On the Eternal Dominion, Velrath watched the humans' bold maneuvers with grudging admiration. They're insane, he muttered. Thrask smiled faintly. Insane, but effective. Fine, Velrath growled. All Empire ships, focus fire on their flank. We'll make sure these creatures can't adapt to both fronts. The Empire's fleet unleashed a volley of plasma torpedoes, striking at the edges of the black ship's formation. For the first time, cracks began to show. A new threat emerges. Just as hope began to rise, the enemy adapted again. The black ships shifted their formation, their fluid-like hulls fusing together into larger, more powerful vessels. Harris's voice broke through the tension. Captain, they're combining. Their energy output just doubled. Vale's jaw tightened, so they're learning too. Fine. Let's see how they handle chaos. She turned to her crew. Activate the decoy program. Deploy every remaining stealth mine and hologram. Turn this battlefield into a maze. Across the battlefield, the humans unleashed their final trick. Mines detonated in precise patterns, creating bursts of debris that masked their movements. Holographic ships multiplied, confusing the black ship's targeting systems. Velrath's voice crackled over the comms. You humans and your tricks. Do you ever fight fair? Vale smirked. Fair fights are for people who want to lose. The turning point. The combined efforts of the human and Empire fleets began to take a toll. The largest black ship, now absorbing attacks from both sides, faltered. Its hull shimmered violently as energy leaks erupted across its surface. Admiral, Thrask said, this is our chance. If we can destroy that flagship, the others might retreat. Velrath nodded. All ships focus fire on their core. This ends now. As the Empire's fleet unleashed a final barrage, the Resolute and its escorts broke through the enemy's defenses. Vale gave the order. Harris charged the core disruptor. Let's finish this. The final shot. The Resolute fired its experimental core disruptor, a weapon designed for last resort scenarios. The beam struck the flagship's exposed core, sending a ripple of energy through the black ship. The enemy vessel began to collapse, its fluid-like hull destabilizing. As it imploded, the remaining black ships paused, as if assessing the situation. Then, one by one, they'd vanished into hyperspace. The battlefield fell silent. A new reality. On the Eternal Dominion, Velrath slumped into his chair. We survived, he muttered. Thrask glanced at him. With their help. Velrath scowled but said nothing. Back on the Resolute, Vale leaned back in her chair, exhaustion etched on her face. Harris turned to her. Think they'll be back. Vale's expression hardened. Definitely. But next time, we'll be ready. Epilogue. As the two fleets parted ways, the Resolute received a final transmission from the Empire. Velrath's voice was gruff. This changes nothing, human. The Empire does not bow. Vale smirked. Keep telling yourself that, Admiral. But deep down, you know we saved your scales. The transmission cut off, and Vale turned to her crew. Set a course for Earth. We've got a lot of work to do. This galaxy isn't going to protect itself. Far away, in the void, a lone black ship watched from the shadows. Its hull shimmered as it transmitted a silent message. Humans. Dangerous. Adaptive. Priority threat.